Red Dead Redemption blew us away when it came out in 2010 and presented us with its Western-themed open-world gameplay. John Marston's story of revenge and, of course, redemption captured our hearts and imaginations. But there are darker stories hidden deeper in the game. If you thought the most evil thing going in the game was tying people to train tracks, we have news for you. This is Jason from Curse. We've got way worse stories for you than that.
Okay.
A staple of Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto series is the ability to get refunds from prostitutes you've hired. Red Dead Redemption takes a much darker approach to this.
Hey, Migo, give it a rest.
When you meet Eva Cortez, she's being beat by Mario Alcalde, who offers to let Marston buy her freedom for $200. Eva will announce she's going to Las Hermanas, the nearby convent. A few days later, you'll find out she indeed did go to the convent, but then left almost as quickly as she came with a gentleman caller. At Sepulchro, you'll find Mario burying Eva's body in a shallow grave. He doesn't explain why, he only says she was
the goddamn whore, man.
Beat the man in a duel, search his body, and get back the $200 you paid for Eva's freedom, which now takes on a whole different, sadder meaning.
Oh, they took my boy! My boy!
For some reason, people keep disappearing from around Armadillo and Cholla Springs, and for some reason, every time you go looking for them, all you find in their last known location is a pile of meat and bones and maybe a shoe. Never a full corpse, just a pile of gore. Just as you're hot on the trail of the killer, you run into Randall Forrester with a broken leg. He tells you his attacker ran off and you need to catch him. When Marston catches the killer, Randall gets rather excited.
Fella's gotta eat now. Fella's got to eat.
While standing over the man you just tied up. Turns out Marston just tied up a guy and tossed him down in front of a crazed cannibal. Marston throws up his hands in the air and turns around, seemingly washing his hands of the situation.
Them bastards in Gap-Tooth Breach got my friend, Floyd. Please, mister, you gotta help him.
In Gap-Tooth Breach, a dying Clay Pettiford tells you about his partner trapped by a group of rival treasure hunters. When you find Floyd Boggles, he beckons you over with a bribe. Apparently, he and his partner have been chasing a motherlode of treasure. With his partner gone, he needs Marston's help to make it the rest of the way into the mine. If you keep him alive until the end of the mission, you'll come across the treasure he spoke of. It turns out the treasure trove has mostly been looted already.
This is a spot, all right, but damn it, one measly chest? Well, it's all yours, partner, for your troubles. I'm a man of my word.
Floyd keeps his promise to make it worth your while and offers you the full share of the treasure before walking off alone. Despondent over the loss of his partner and his treasure, Boggles walks over to sit on a crate of dynamite. Then, in a flash, the tragic story of Floyd Boggles comes to a fiery end. News stories in Red Dead Redemption report on Tumbleweed being a ghost town, but they also hint that it may just be a cover for gang activity. It turns out there actually are gangs pulling the old Scooby-Doo gambit of using a haunted cover story to keep people out of the hideout.
And I'd have done it too, if you kids hadn't come along.
But unlike a Scooby-Doo story, Tumbleweed seems to actually be haunted. There are a number of out-of-place sounds around Tumbleweed. There is the sound of barking where there are no dogs around, clucking where there are no chickens, voices where there are no people. In Tumbleweed's church, the pulpit shows the words, "The devil has got into that beast." It isn't really known what this refers to, but it could be a reference to the disembodied dog barking you hear in town, or perhaps the dark horse, the preferred mount for honorless cowards.
You remind me of my Peter.
One of the saddest things you'll find in your travels is NPC suicides. This is something you may see several times in the game, or not at all. There's no set formula for finding it, it's just a random event you can encounter while exploring the game. Generally, what you'll find is one character grieving over the fresh corpse of another. After a good cry for a few seconds, they'll make up their mind, grab the revolver in front of them, and... Love takes on all forms, and Jeb Blankenship is proof of it. He initiates a side quest where he asks Marston to rescue his one true love, Lucy.
They took my love! They took Jeb's love!
After clearing out the kidnappers, you may find that you're having a difficult time finding a woman by the name of Lucy. Or any human woman at all. All you can find is a horse named Lucy.
Yeah, we better get her back to her man, huh?
Well, now we know why the mission is called Who Are You to Judge? But there are a few more bits to this story. There's a newspaper article after completing the mission about Jeb and Lucy getting married at a nearby chapel. In the Tumbleweed Cemetery, you can find the gravestone of a Grace Blankenship who died in 1907 and is survived by a loving husband, Jeb. And rounding out this weird family, there's also mention of how Jeb's father had a similar relationship with a number of goats.
Last night they went to a big place up near Ridgewood.
They burnt the place down, killed the men, burning most of them alive, and raped the women.
Well, you know this mission is going to be a bad time when one of the first things you have to do is follow a bunch of vultures. You'll find a campsite littered with dead bodies. Not just people, but horses and livestock as well. It's a complete slaughter. Then you'll find another campsite with a similar degree of carnage. But you're not done yet. Once your party traces the violence to its source, you'll open a barn door to a lot more death, complete with a hanging, stripped dead body. You'll eventually save a hostage, but there's nothing you can do about the mountain of corpses you find up to that point, and the bandits who did it don't seem to have any particular motivation other than to just do it.
Dog time. Let's get them to jail.
Oh, it's like that, is it? Huh? Not talking to Seth today? Oh, the old silent treatment. Oh, whoa, hoo-hoo.
Seth Briars has an obsession with the dead. A prospector and grave robber by trade, Seth spends all of his time around the dead and sometimes has entire conversations with them. In Undead Nightmare, he even teaches zombies to play the fiddle and dance. Somehow. Seth despises the living, perhaps because all those he cared about have died. He makes comments about having no interest in women, but mentions having a wife and child. He doesn't pay any attention to his own personal hygiene or health, and obviously he has no friends. Of course, Seth is a bit disturbing just by himself, but the real question is what he does with the dead when Marston isn't around.
And I imagine myself doing all kinds of unpleasant things to his corpse. And then I realized...
Realized you were sick in the head?
We don't see any hard evidence that Seth Briars is a necrophiliac, but it's a popular fan theory. After all, he does everything else in life with the dead. What's one more thing?
What you searching for, partner?
I've been gathering some flowers for my wife. She's waiting for me back in the cabin.
The first available Stranger side mission available in Red Dead Redemption sure sets the tone for what you can expect from the rest of the game. After all, nothing says manly cowboy stuff like helping an old man gather flowers for his wife of 50 years. It's something special to even stay alive for that long in the Old West, much less married, so Marston agrees to help out. When Marston gathers the flowers and returns them to Billy West, he's invited inside to meet the lucky lady. It turns out Billy's special girl isn't in great health. Probably hasn't been for years now. There's nothing you can do but leave the man with his flowers and his denial.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Billy. I must have forgot. I've got an appointment with Planet Earth.
So, what happens when you have a zombie apocalypse break out near an aspiring filmmaker decades before the advent of the first zombie movie? Inspiration!
Man turned against man. Kind-hearted neighbors turned into savage, flesh-eating monsters. This hit, it'll make a fantastic movie.
You'll find D.S. McKenna in a tent in Plainview in the Undead Nightmare DLC. With him are a camera and a hog-tied zombie, so we're definitely going places with this one. McKenna's dream is to make a film about the zombies, so Marston brings a retro zombie to the filming location. McKenna's order to his zombie stars is a bit puzzling though. He demands that they eat human flesh, but seems to have forgotten to provide them with any. This turns out about as you'd expect. The ambitious filmmaker may win a Darwin Award for his demise here, but you have to give him credit for his dedication. Interrupting the filming to save McKenna's life fails the mission. The climax of Red Dead Redemption is its saddest but arguably greatest moment.
Me and your mother do our part. By the time your turn comes, hell, this could be the nicest farm in the county.
John Marston regains his family by acting as the puppet of Edgar Ross in the Bureau of Investigation, and things look like they're setting up for a happy ending. But wiping out all but one of the members of Dutch's gang isn't good enough for Ross. Ross gathers the army to launch a full-out assault on John at Beecher's Hope. John takes out more than 40 soldiers but knows it's too much even for him. He sends his wife and son away on horseback, knowing that's the only way they'll make it. John accepts his fate and sacrifices himself to save his family. His final act is to be betrayed and filled with bullets by the very government he served to repent for his actions. But in that final moment, John knows that Ross's witch hunt ends, his family can live in peace, and he earns his redemption. And 3 years later, Jack Marston finds Ross and avenges his father, reminding us of his own words, "Everyone will eventually pay for what they've done." That's all the Wild West weirdness we have for now, but there's plenty more to find for yourself. If you want to see more, check out our video on Easter eggs and movie references in Red Dead Redemption, or our wish list for Red Dead Redemption 2. And as always, enjoy the game.